What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon
What's up? What's up?
and LeVon Maynard.
Welcome to the show.
What is going on? So this should be Tuesday's episode, so definitely tune in for Mondays. I know we took a 1 week hiatus, so definitely continue, tune back in, please. Monday, we talk about the NVIDIA situation and how they've apparently had their source code leaked, and then some hackback shenanigans. So definitely tune in for that one. Wednesday, we will have a discussion on the private sector and their involvement in the Ukraine and Russia conflict. So that's going to be a good discussion. And then Friday, everything else, right? So the Batman, TV shows, all the above. So definitely tune in for that. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right. So the article we got today is from CNN.com by Geneva Sands, and the title of it is "Senate Passes Major Cybersecurity Legislation to Force Reporting of Cyber Attacks and Ransomware." We've kind of touched on this a little bit in the past, right? And I know it was something that was brought up when we had Gabe Davis on back in, was it December? Was that the time frame we had Gabe?
Yes, it's around that December time frame.
Yeah, around December, maybe early January time frame. But what happened here, Senate on Tuesday passed major cybersecurity legislation, which moves a step closer to critical infrastructure companies reporting cyber attacks and ransomware payments, right? So what they put out there, and again, this is for critical infrastructure companies right now, right? But the thinking is that private companies are going to follow suit with this, right? We don't want another colonial pipeline to happen. We don't want what's been happening at the water treatment facilities happening, right? And just going to where you got to hope people are reading about it, right? Because it's one of the things we talked about as well, is that people aren't really looking at that stuff, right? If it's not on social media, people don't really care. Like, it's something that we keep up on, right? Because it has to do with cybersecurity. But the hope is that this gets to where, like I said, right now it's just for critical infrastructure, but private companies follow suit with this. And one of the a couple of the key timelines that they have for this, right? Now, this legislation is supposed to pass the House, right? Senate passed it, but the House, more than likely, it's going to pass, right? Because it was bipartisan and it was very overwhelmingly approved, right? But what it requires is critical infrastructure owners and civilian federal agencies to report to CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, within 72 hours if they experience a substantial cyber attack. Now, the substantial thing kind of trips me up a little bit, right? Like, what is considered substantial? I hope they lay out like guidelines on what that will be, right? Like, not leave it up to the determination of whomever to say, nah, I don't think that was substantial enough or whatever, right? Like, hopefully that's laid out for them, right? And then the other timeline they have here is reporting of ransomware payments being requested from the companies. They have to report that to the federal government within 24 hours. So this is a good direction to go, right? Like, I know people like to always talk about, government overreach and things of that nature. And I get it, right? I understand it. You don't want the government too much into your business, but this is one of those things where when it comes to critical infrastructure, this is something that's going to affect everybody, right? This isn't like, oh, we're affecting your personal freedoms or doing anything like that, right? We're taking a risk-based approach to handling some of the things that are becoming very prevalent nowadays, right? If we're being honest, you know what I'm saying? Cybersecurity is I know not a lot of people like it, right? They think it's a hindrance, but it's something that's very necessary in this day and age with everything that's going on. You know what I'm saying? But LeVon, what's your thoughts on this?
No, I think it's a great thing. I mean, like you mentioned, we talked about this before, but it's something that I think it should be put into law, that companies should be kind of required, especially if it involves personal information, like information as ourselves. Like, if we're involved in some sort of federal agency that gets hacked, or has some sort of cybersecurity incident where our data may be involved. Credit card, credit reporting, exactly. Yep. This kind of information should definitely be that kind of situation should definitely be reported, and move of the chain have to be reported to CISA, and necessary steps should be taken, obviously, to report it and to like find the root cause and people that are affected. And I think even like the like I mentioned, the root cause, but like if they are able to identify how the hackers got into their systems and like the steps that were taken, they should be, that information should be reported and be shared amongst, the industry, amongst the different agencies that would be, curious to know in case that same situation happens to them, and they can help solidify their systems to make sure that they are don't become a victim as well. So I think it's a great thing. I mean, it's going to be focused more like on the federal side, but potentially maybe down the line they have something for like the private sector as well to kind of like help that, because I mean I know private is like where most people are like more engaged, but obviously we have a lot of important things to deal with on the federal side with all the government agencies and things like that. But I think it's a great thing overall, and hopefully it goes through. I'm sure it will pass through the next step. I guess you said it's passed the House and now it's the Senate.
The Senate passed it. It's going
Senate
to
passed
the
it.
House
Now it's going to the House. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so over the House, I think the House will probably pass it. And it's there's no controversial, like it's not a big controversy with the what they're asking for. So it seems like it'd be a no-brainer, but I like to see it. I hope they keep it going strong. And like you mentioned with the whole what they call substantial hacking, I'm curious about that as well. They have to like define that for sure, because it can be like, only half of our accounts got hacked, and like that's not substantial. That's has to be more than half, more than 50%. But what do you think about this one, Ryan?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a pro, right? Like we're definitely making strides through the federal government to make cyber the focus. I would assume that CISA would set that metric. Like I definitely want to get Gabe Davis back on from CISA because of not only this article but the cyber the cyber board or cyber risk board. I also want to talk to him about that to get his take on it. But I would assume that they would make the matrix or whatever they're going to push out there. It's like, okay, now you have to tell CISA within this amount of time, these thresholds, and then CISA would be like, here's our guideline. Like here are the, how significant impact your company has or whatever would be my assumption. Because you can't, like you said, you can't leave it up to the company because they'd be like, yeah, 51%.
Yeah,
like
right.
51% of the power grid needs to be down before we report it. You know what I mean? Like that's a substantial amount. So,
yeah.
I would assume that they would set the tone, but like I would try to get them on to get the source, right? Because I googled it and I could not find it. Like the actual metrics, so to speak, are not publicized just yet, or at least my Google foo is not strong enough to find it. But yeah, I think so. Cyber is becoming mainstream. Like it's on everybody's mind in some regard. Either they've been hacked, their data's been leaked, they've received something free from T-Mobile because of their data being out there or something like that. Not to keep bashing T-Mobile, I kid, I'm a T-Mobile guy. Never gonna get rid of them. Like
Right.
the love is too strong, right? Just keep giving me free stuff. I'll just keep taking it like a chump. But I like especially now in highlight of the political and the war between Russia and Ukraine. Like everybody's talking about cyber. It's all in the media. Like cyber is a big focus. They might not completely understand it yet, but it's becoming easier to pass legislation because of what's happening. Like we know cyber attacks are imminent. As you can see, I think it was I always get the titles confused, and because I'm a poor history buff over here. Like the lower house did pass it, right? And then we're waiting for the upper house to pass it. And it was almost unanimous at the lower house. So the politicians get it. They're like, it's coming. Like it's like winter is coming. Cyber attacks are coming. There's going to be a lot of fallout from what's currently happening in Europe. So they're like, hurry up and pass this because we know our infrastructure is necessarily a problem, but it needs to be better secured than it currently is. Because if everybody has a standard, then there is no standard across the board, right? I did see in one of the articles, they talked to a senator and he was stating like he was pretty confident about our power grid, but he was worried about water and oil because they know we're not completely secure the way we need to be. There's not enough people in the seats. The companies, that's not to say they're not taking it seriously, but it's a major investment on their part, right? So what's going to come first, the board and their profits, or another member of our security team? Probably the board and profits. So they know they know they need to pass this legislation in order to keep everybody in check, so to speak, before the wave comes, which it is coming. So not to be a fear monger, but it's just the way of the world, right? Like you see company or not only your hacktivists or your ransomware guys, ransomware gangs, but nation states, they roll in with a cyber attack the week to soften you up before they roll in with tanks and bombs. It's just the way, this is the future. So cyber is in demand. Cyber defense is something we definitely need to put at the forefront. And now we see legislation's coming in. So I'm very happy about it. I see no cons coming from passing more legislation with tighter timelines. Yeah, I found it interesting that 72 hours if you are breached, but 24 hours if you're the victim of ransomware. So those timelines are pretty tight. I like it. Like, let's keep it moving.
Yeah. So, and in the article, this was, I didn't address it, but there was one of the people in the article is quoted as thinking the companies are going to push back on that tight timeline because they're going to say they're too busy to do reporting or whatever. I don't imagine the federal government is going to make it a long drawn out process. I know it's kind of an oxymoron, right? That the government doesn't do things that are
right.
long
There'll be
out,
some
right?
red tape, but not for reporting.
It won't be for like there will be
Yeah.
a matter of you sending a message or picking up a phone or whatever and just getting it out there, right? It should,
Yeah.
you can take that 10 minutes it may take to report, you know what I'm saying? So I know that was one of the things that was a worry in the article. So like, I hope they don't extend the timeline. I hope they don't say, okay, we'll go from 72 to 96 or anything like that. Like, keep it 72. Hell, I wouldn't be mad if you said 48. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's plenty of time. Well, I'm not a corporation owner, right? But you can put somebody on the payroll, because we talk about it all the time. They're like, well, we need more people here, we need people there. Like, you can, like, literally that could be a help desk function. Like, hey, not to belittle the help desk, but they're already making the phone calls, opening tickets and whatnot. They can shoot an email or pick up the phone and call a hotline and report what's going on. If you want to make it somebody higher up in the totem pole, that's on you. But you just need to have someone who has the ability to reach out to this agency in whatever form CISA decides, which I'm sure they're going to give them a ton of different ways of reporting the situation. So I don't see how you can push back on that. Like, having to disclose the information, I can see pushback on that, right? Because they have a board to satiate, and you may want to not disclose that without properly sugarcoating it, right? Like some kind of public message, like, oh, they hacked 51% of our grid, but the other 48% is great. You know what I mean? Working better than ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's going to be the pushback. Is like, they don't get a chance to get in front of it before they tell the government, and then the government hopefully comes to their aid or steps in or whatever. But which one is more important at that point? Like, is it the message to your investors, or is it the protecting whatever your critical infrastructure is, like keeping the lights on somewhere or providing oil and gas to someone else? You know what I mean? So I can see it, because time is money for corporations and what have you, but I'm sorry, you're not doing a good enough job. So now you have to be regulated. So it is what it is. But this is my 2 cents. I don't have a dog in that fight, right? I'm not the CEO of nothing. So I ain't got to worry about that. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's putting cyber at the forefront, and that's exactly what we're here for, right? So I think it'll do nothing but good for the industry and the people it's supposed to protect in general. So, well, with that being said, I will end this episode. Definitely continue to tune in. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. So Monday and Tuesday are topics, Wednesday our discussion, and then Thursday Ask Us SP, not this week, and then Friday is everything else, the weekly rundown. So hit us up on all of our socials, and then you can hit me up personally. I'm at RY Security Guy. That's RY Security Guy. I am on Clubhouse, LinkedIn, Twitter, and TikTok. And you, LeVon?
You hit me up on the Twitters at LeVon Maynard.
There it is. Stay safe, stay secure.
Take care.